Welcome everyone. Welcome to, what number is this? Let's say it's just week 2. Yes, thanks, Leo. Week 2 of the Scalene Developer Sprint Camp. This is our second guest, our second Fireside chat. Last week we had Tian Lee from Pendle Finance. This week we have Liam. A bit about Scalene. In case anyone's watching this and you don't know what Scalene is about. Scalene is an ecosystem where we empower founders and operators to build into the decentralized world. A bit of context about this event. So each week, good morning everyone. Yep. Each week we start from week 1, week 2, and week 3 for this 4-week long course. We have live lectures for the enrollees of the Web3 Developer Sprint Camp. And then we always end each week off with a fireside chat. This week we have Liam, because as a serial founder and also ex-synthetics, he has a lot to say and a lot of advice to give to inspiring builders like yourself watching this. So Liam, right now, he is the founder of DAppNet. I'll leave it to him to tell you a bit more about what DAppNet is about. And I'll leave it to Liam also to tell about his journey. So Liam, the way we usually do this, and the recurring theme around a lot of our fireside chats, a lot around what scaling is about, is we love hearing about founder stories. Because if you look around the space, you look at your peers, for us at least, in the Web3 space, everyone comes from different journeys. Kevin and myself had similar journeys, but it was still very different to a lot of other people out there. So Liam, please take it away and give us an introduction.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the terrific introduction, because I'm terrible at them myself. And for setting the tone, because the tone is pretty useful to guide what it is. Great to be here. I've been in crypto for like 10 years actually, and I was in it since high school. I was always into like peer-to-peer networks and stuff like that. And only very recently have I even done anything with my life. DAppNet sort of, I guess I can work backwards from DAppNet because it's kind of the most important thing I've done recently. But basically, DAppNet is a solution to this problem we have in the space, which is we're building decentralized infrastructure. So decentralized finance is the biggest thing we're building right now. And that's really important, right? Like, an unbiased sort of auditable financial system goes way back to like the GFC and all that sort of stuff. And it's really important that like we have these ways to, build protocols that are resistant to manipulation and, resistant to like stuff like cascading effects from banking. And the problem basically right now is that sort of we have the way to run these protocols, which is blockchains, but we don't have a way to basically access their front ends in a way that can't be hacked. The most recent example of this, I can't actually talk about because I have lawyers now, but there are cases, and there are a lot of different cases where basically these front ends have either been hacked or they've been censored by governments or like by organizations, and then they've also been like politically influenced. So like, for example, around the time of the sort of tornado sanctions, there was this like overzealous reach whereby one company, Chain Analysis, basically banned a bunch of addresses. And so like people like you and I, for example, could be in this situation where we go to like, swap some tokens to pay for rent or whatever, and we couldn't access it because some random person had just decided that. And so like the core of it is that the problem isn't that like, the problem isn't that there are bad actors and we have to do these things. The problem is who gets to decide who gets to do these things. And the point of DAppNet is to make it possible to sort of deploy these front ends in a way that decision making is further extended and more open. So that was a bit about the project. You want me to tell you a bit about my story?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish I was there in person because I'm quite animated, but I'll try to do it from sitting down. My cave. Okay. So, I mean, a bunch of you guys are probably just starting out coding. And I'm probably at the exact opposite end. Like, I've been coding since I was 12. But I think there's probably something in common here, which is that like I didn't know how to code when I started, and everything I've learned has just been through learning. Like I didn't learn any of this at uni. I didn't learn how to do any of this. I've just continually sort of applied myself and tried to build things and see what happens. I think that's like a really important thing. It's kind of like we live in like a really cool era where you have access to AI and you can literally learn probably 10 times faster than I could have learned back then. So you can say something, Andy?
No, just wanted to dive deep into your beginning coding journey. I guess the way, well, personally, I want to hear is what was the first thing you built and what inspired you to build that in whatever space? Could be Web 2. It was probably Web 2 10 years ago. Yeah. And then we dive deep into, I guess, entrance into Web 3. What got you into working into a protocol, like Key Project, and then Synthetics with me. And then we talk about your serial foundership.
Serial. Did have brekkie this morning. Fourth meal of the day. Yeah, so first thing I built was I wanted to get onto YouTube at school and they blocked it. So the reason I got into coding was to get onto YouTube at school. And that's sort of just, that was the start, you know. I learned about IP addresses. So, you know, you could type in the IP because they banned the sort of youtube.com. And then that got me into sort of like playing around in the sort of like in the terminal and like making little programs with my mate Jack. This was way back in like year 7 or something. And then eventually we started learning how to make websites, and we both made our own websites in I think it was like PHP and sort of like HTML back then. And there was no React. There was no like, I think it was Angular. It was like the newest thing. And there wasn't even really Ajax. Like you just sort of, like it was just static websites. But I made like a very, probably the first product I ever made that got used by people was like basically a way to, it was like a chat app that we all used to use in high school to chat with each other because they blocked, you know, MSN and stuff like that.
Yeah, it really sounds like there's a common thread through your life, and it's like being a cyberpunk. You can't go on YouTube, you're getting censored by the schools, Department of Education, and then you figure out IPs, and then you access it that way. MSN was blocked and you wanted to chat with your friends.
Yeah.
So you built your chat app, and now it's .NET, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I want to do things. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. From that journey, I guess, from getting into coding, how did you, I guess, make the decision? Was there a catalyst or a significant event where you decided to work into Web3?
Yeah, there was actually. So, you know, I heard about Bitcoin because I was on the mailing list where it was announced. So like I heard about it when it was like $10. And it was funny because like all through growing up, you know, like like my net wealth increased like proportionally to Bitcoin. So when it was $10, I had like $1. When it was $100, I had like $10. And then like when it was like 700, eventually I was like, all right, screw it, I'm buying in. And so, you know, I got into this and I started writing about it. I probably wrote like one of the earliest articles on the blockchain and stuff like that. And I guess the appealing thing was it was kind of like, you know, it's just super interesting. I mean, that's the core of it. It's like, okay, this is money we're talking about. Like, money hasn't been changed in like 5,000 years. And I went to all these events and like I saw some talk from this guy and he talked about the origins of money and sort of like all these examples and I was like, this is very interesting, that you can have Bitcoin, you know, as this money that's like the policy is set, it's separate from any state. And around that time, there wasn't even like NFTs yet, but like MIT and Microsoft were putting out all these articles on like what you could do with it. So you could have like, you know, cars that pay for their own fuel with a QR code or whatever. And eventually I got into Ethereum. So I got into Ethereum and I was in the Netherlands and I, again was like, this is probably something very interesting if you're not in the space to know. I got all my jobs through Twitter, like literally all of them. My entire professional life is based on Twitter. If I lose my Twitter account, like I'm screwed. You know, the way I got my job at Keep Network was again this, you know, it's so crypto, but it's like basically I just got really interested into like, okay, if you could put Bitcoin onto Ethereum as like an asset, you know, and so, you know, I nerded out in my cave. I was hanging out with my mate Nick at the time. We were building like some bridging protocol, and I wrote this paper, and then I just posted it. I posted it and I tagged like a couple of the people who's like one of the researchers. One of their things in the paper was their thing. And through that, we started chatting, and he's just like, yo, you should like meet my friend Matt, who's building this startup. And then that's how I got my job at Keep, was literally through that.
Amazing. So top tips there, if anyone missed it, is you need to be on Twitter. And I totally agree with that. There's a common question that we get asked by newbies or people wanting to get into the space. It's like, how do I keep up to date with the space? And I guess prior to Web3, a career in Web3, I didn't actually exactly use Twitter. I couldn't see the value of it. But having come into Web3 and being there for almost 5-6 years now, it's the space where you find out the top news first. So yeah. Tell us a bit about what you worked on at Keep project.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, like technically speaking, like Keep was Keep's like this sort of this crypto network. There's a token, and you use the token to sort of basically pay for like a group of people to like sign transactions for you. And so what we use that for is basically a way for people to redeem Bitcoins on Ethereum, and then it automatically pays them the actual Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. So yeah, Keep was pretty cool because I got to work with like Americans and this Polish group, this Polish team, which are all super awesome devs, and like my first foray into like remote work, even before like the whole pandemic thing happened.
Yeah, and I guess I remember speaking to you. For context to the audience, Liam was also at Synthetics, so the old protocol I used to work at as well. I still remember talking to you, Liam, and you were saying after Keep project, you used to go to a lot of hackathons. So after Keep project, you discovered remote traveling, and I think you told me you fell in love with being remote, traveling the world, and also working on these cool projects at hackathons. Can you tell us a bit about that? I think it's very in line with what a lot of these students are feeling right now.
Yeah. So I'll preface this by saying, like, I also got horribly depressed. Like, it goes like there's a challenge there. Working remote and like what we do right now, like in society, is like, you know, it's simply like the the best type of adventure you can have. Like, crypto is this space where we don't really get to work in person so much, but there are conferences all the time, and everyone's super interesting and super smart, and you can go to these conferences, and you get exposed to all these different cultures and stuff. So like when I was working at Keep, like I never met the guys from America or from Poland, but then there was this conference in Berlin, and I went there, and we hung out and we met all these sorts of interesting people. Can't remember what the question was actually. Guide me.
Yes. So the hackathon life. You covered the remote life. Tell us about the hackathon life. What was the favorite part about it? Yeah.
Awesome. The favorite part? I mean, just not having to do anything with life. Someone else manages your accommodation. They manage the food. There's like a bar fridge. They have this beer in like Europe. It's called mate, and it's basically it's like a stimulant beer. So imagine drinking coffee, but it's also like a soft drink, and they have that there just on tap. I've been to so many hackathons, and every single one of them, they were just the ones in crypto, literally the best hackathons I've ever been to in my life. Like, it's so much
coming from the man itself. Yeah, coming from the man itself. With the hackathon experience, do you have any tips? I do believe that in these hackathons you even won one, right? You came first in one.
Yeah, we won one or two.
That's actually a lot. So
I guess it is.
I think there's also another question our community always asks is, how did I best prepare for a hackathon? Like, what are the required skills? A lot of them think you have to be like in the space for like 3-4 years, learning. Yeah, give us some insight on that. What are the best tips? Give us some hot takes on those tips too.
Hot takes. Ooh, yeah. Like that. Okay, so hot take. The majority of hackathon ideas are shit. So don't worry about your ideas, because it's like very rarely people come up with like ones which are extremely good. The point of a hackathon is to meet people, and have fun, and the best ideas come out of that. The only way you're gonna like meet people and like form a team is by finding people with complementary skill sets and being good at something yourself. But at the same time, like, this is even without the drugs, like the stimulant latte or like the beers. We managed to like learn Ethereum assembly or whatever when we were at the hackathon. Like it's crazy, but like even if you don't really know what you're doing, you can come up with things, and yeah.
Yeah, I guess tell us about how much of an impact did this hackathon have on your Web3 journey? Would you be where you are without?
So here's a really important thing. Hackathons are a great place to grow your Twitter network. So I've always been like a slut for information, but like what you do at a hackathon is you build a project, right? And the thing people don't understand is that the project isn't about it being functional. It's more about the idea and the presentation of it. So, we built this project, which was like a ZK DAO, which is basically a DAO whereby the voting is sort of private. You can't see what other people vote. And we made this horrible hack. It barely even worked. But like the point is that we made like a nice page about it. We explained what we did, who was involved. We made the GitHub. So have a nice GitHub README, have a nice like run through video that like focuses on the visual and the UX of it. And then we posted it on Twitter. And what you do is you tag like ETH Berlin 2, like which is that second ETH Berlin. And then everyone else who's at the hackathon, they go and they see that and they like it. They maybe follow you. Everyone who's not at the hackathon, they they're interested in what's going on. So they go like follow the hashtag, they follow it, they like you, and things happen.
And that is really good advice. Speaking of Twitter, let's move a bit away from engineering right now. I know you are really good at Twitter.
Big smile on your face. Here we go.
You're really good at Twitter, Liam. If anyone's, I want this advice myself. What is the best way, I guess, to build a following apart from hackathons? Like the stuff you post. What are you thinking about when you post this, or are you thinking at all?
Jesus Christ, this is a good question. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to get cancelled here. So what am I going to say? So Twitter is both a game and a place to have fun. So there are like 3 types of people you're going to meet on Twitter. There are friends. There are people you're interested in talking to, they're doing stuff. And then there's like, just random people. And there are like 3 different strategies basically there. For friends, you just be friends, you get interested in their stuff, whatever, that's what you do. The people you're interested in, generally you want to like practice good reply game, which is this idea of like basically you want to support what they say in their tweet. You never want to be an asshole on Twitter because who cares about that? And you just want to reply and you want to start a conversation. And like the algo, like it upranks replies like no tomorrow. Another thing which is interesting actually is that if you ask questions on Twitter, you will get heaps more engagement. Because somehow, basically, the algo figures out that if you ask a question, someone's going to reply, and then you're probably going to reply to that. And it upranks stuff that it thinks that you will reply to comments from other people. But then the third piece of advice is to make memes. And this is the most important thing. So, how do we make memes? I've always wanted to talk about this.
Please.
Guide me.
Yeah, I guess speaking of memes and speaking of your take on Twitter, you are actually the founder of something called Take, right? Hot Take.
Yeah.
Please tell us a bit about Hot Take, but also tell us how you find focus and what makes you go from idea to implementation for multiple things you're thinking about in your head. Sorry, it's a long one, but yeah.
Talk about
takes first.
Takes. All right. Well, basically, Actually, I've got a really good way to explain this. So my thesis is that dumb is better. I'm uncancelling the word dumb. Just like the word slut, I think we should retake the word dumb and we should claim it. And here's why. So Take is this meme platform I built with my mate Sylv when I met at a hackathon. And basically the whole idea for Take was we were on a call and we were chatting and sort of like he was telling me about investors and stuff and he was worried and I kind of retorted with this catchphrase I like, which is just like, who told you had to think? Because everyone's always like, I got to think about the token, I got to think about this, blah blah blah. It's like no, you don't have to think about anything unless you've got a contract that says you have to figure that out, or you have a reason, you're going to die, right? You have to think how to escape a bear attack. And so he thought it was quite funny. He's like, man, we should mint that. And I was like, yeah, we should mint that. And then I was like, damn, like, is there a way we can just mint like a take, like a hot take? And there wasn't a way. And so I was just like, man, I can figure out how to build this. Like it's actually a very simple thing. And so I went ahead and built it. And it's a really dumb idea, right? Like, it's just like, basically it's just takes on chain, and then other people can sort of like fill them in with like random stuff. But because it's so dumb, so many people can actually interact with it. And because it's so dumb, it's so simple to implement that it only took me like a day to make. Whoopsie. And anyways, so this thing actually got users, and like the founder of Know Your Meme actually made a meme on it, which is crowning achievement, I guess. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, go for it, man.
So your question was like, how do you focus, and then how do you like ideate and make them?
Before that, so I have a good way to explain take, having looked at it.
Yeah.
So you know TikTok, right? You know how when you post a template or post a video, you can remix it? That was what take was. So essentially, someone could have they could post a take, which is just basically characters of text. It could be like, bears are cool, right? And then someone else would come in and remix that and remint it.
Yeah.
And when we say remint it, we're issuing a on-chain NFT. So someone actually owns it. And then I'm not sure if you actually dived into the marketplace or anything like that. But
That's what it means. Yeah. So the best take we had on this platform was a mate Profish from the Oz Builders group, and he made one which was like, "Your Honor, please, my client was simply XX." And then and then everyone just like, you fill in the XX. So people just like, they're like, "Oh, Your Honor, please, my client simply stole like customer funds," or like, "Your Honor, please, my client was simply embroiled in a polycule." And this goes back to the Twitter thing, because it's actually about reply game, and it's about building on other people's stuff, which is super important to learn, and it's super fun to do.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think what's commonly overlooked when they build, right, is there is a lot of interest in, or everyone likes to, I guess, pick the things that are trending, right? The things that, are hot, like NFTs, DeFi.
Yeah.
One of the things that don't get enough love, and there's a huge innovation space into it, is culture. Culture.
Yeah.
The social side of humans, right? How do you really empower what we currently have using the technology we have?
Totally. Yeah.
That's what you've basically done that with your ideation. I know a lot of your ideas are basically things that you would enjoy building and funny. And at this Twitch hackathon, that's what I guess all of you should actually look at too. It's like, just look at your wide range of things and just build something fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The reason I made DAPNet, was like, I didn't care about anything. I was just like, this is what I want to see, and I'm going to figure out how to make it,
Excluding details out. So great. Tell us, I guess, from your, the example of building takes, how do you manage juggling a lot of ideas in your head, and how do you break down the whole process of having an idea and implementing it? What do you, I remember you showed me a good system of prioritizing things based on how it serves you and what you want in life. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So I guess the first question is this for someone who's ADHD or someone who's not? Because there's two very different pieces of advice.
Yes, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Given from your take, I guess. I think your system is very, although you can juggle a lot of things, your system's very good. It's good. It's not chaotic. I remember you showed me that Notion doc, which really ranked all these opportunities out, and I feel like that was such a new way to think about things. It's not just picking, a role in Web3 just because it pays the highest, right? you had this system where you ranked a lot of these opportunities based on what you wanted to, like, how you wanted to live. Yeah. I think that side is very, it can be applicable to everyone. So yeah, just tell us about that.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, I guess the way I like ranked all these things was like, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? Like, what do I think like would be really fun to work on? Like, and not just as my own project, but who could I join to work with? Like, what projects appeal to me? And I thought about that, and I made a list, and I checked it twice, very poorly, and as I was making that list, I kind of had a bunch of other things as well. I was thinking about. I was like, okay, money, like I want to afford a house and stuff like that, and I want to work in person. Like, that's really important to me to have connection. I think what all this has in common is that like writing is really valuable. Writing and the way you structure that writing is actually like how you're going to remember it. If your writing is really messy, if you're just doing post-it notes, you're not going to remember shit. But if your writing's like structured, and like I'm not talking paragraphs, I'm talking at least just dot points with spaces between different sections, you're going to be able to like look at that and use that, and not just now but later. And you're also going to be able to share it with other people, like you, for example. And maybe you might even post some of that to Twitter, and connect with people that way. Writing is really good. It's like super good.
Perfect. I think that's a really good guide. To write things down, rank them based on, the whole overview of what you want, just one factor, like money. It could be like remote or in-person traveling. And when we're speaking about this is like the criteria for Liam for finding a role in Web3. He had a bunch of opportunities, a lot of spare time. How did he pick that role that was optimal for him? And he ended up founding his own project. I guess with that too, so we are around 10 minutes away from, I guess, Q&A, or 5 minutes away from Q&A. I do want to get your take on what is your stance on Web3? I guess there's two ways. I'll leave it up to you, but the first one would be, how do you think Web3 is going to evolve in the next 1 or 2 years?
Okay. Just the next 2 years, we're going to see like a lot of new blockchains. So like L2s is the word they use. So you have like Ethereum, sort of Polygon, Ethereum, Solana, stuff like that. Then on top of that, you have like a bunch of other projects which like basically give more capacity to sort of doing stuff in crypto. We're going to see a lot of those, and we're also going to see like some new stuff emerge. So like gaming is one of these things. And we're going to see it like emerge at the same time as AI, and they're actually going to like come together, which is going to be really interesting. So stuff like, you might have a video game that's based on a blockchain, where the characters are speaking from like an AI that is fed all of the information about the world from the chain itself.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. What is your take on AI then? Are they gonna, is there going to be regulation crackdowns like how crypto was? Or do you reckon it's like totally different?
Oh, I don't know actually. I think at the end of the day, no one's going to be able to stop it. It's like BitTorrent. Like the point is not that BitTorrent's like, bad. The point is that now we know we can do it, and we just have to adapt,
Wonderful. Let me just get this screen. It's very red. Perfect. Okay, just before we hop into Q&A, we did cover a couple of things like your hackathon journey, how you got started. I guess, what are some parting advice? What are some lessons that you learned throughout your journey in Web3?
Okay.
And what do you think is needed more in Web3?
I think what you said is great. It's like, just build something you really enjoy. Because Web3 is like a space where there's so much money, and there are so many different things that people build that don't really have users, and then some of them do have users. But like, the thing which you enjoy is going to be the most real thing, and it's a really noisy space, and so like real things are actually really rare, and really good. So the first one is, do what you enjoy, because that's actually the best way to navigate. And the second one is fuck around and find out.
There's another meme.
I have to say, I literally launched .NET because I saw this meme. It's this, if you haven't seen it, it's this video, this guy from Texas, he's kind of fat, he's kind of funny, and he's next to this graph, and he's like pointing this graph, and he's like, all right, so on one axis, you got how much you fuck around, and then on the other axis, you got how much you find out. You fuck around a little, you're going to find out a little. You fuck around a lot, you're going to find out a lot.
That is one of the best impressions I've heard in a while.
But it's so good. It's so good because it's so true. It's like, well, you know what? Like, don't worry about it so much, because you're going to learn something. Like, it really depends how much you want to learn.
I guess the thing with picking to build what you do enjoy the most, like the passion projects, really helps you get through the really tough times, right? Like, people often maybe look at you and they see like the founder of .NET, and they see the end result being the actual app, but they don't really count in the endless like debugging, the endless coding hours you've done. So picking what you really are passionate about, I think, is very helpful for, I guess, guiding you on the journey.
100%.
I guess that's a good way to break into the Q&A section. I think there's a couple questions already. So going back into your hackathon experience, what prerequisite knowledge did you have before your hackathon?
So, I've been creating for a while, so I knew a couple different things. And these are like individual skills that if you have one of those, you'd be super useful. So like knowing how to make a front end, so that's like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and React probably. Knowing how to like do stuff on the back end, so that's like maybe a bit of Python, maybe a bit of like understanding how databases work and how to store data in a database or a text file. And then like there's the protocol stuff, which is like knowing how to write a smart contract.
Text file, pickle, right?
Pickle, yeah. Good old pickle.
Great, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Great answer. I think that should be everyone's checklist for the hackathon coming up, especially for the developers in the space and the community right now. Okay, I guess from another person, James. So if Glitch is their first hackathon, what should they focus on if their end goal is to get a full-time role in Web3? Apart from building a Twitter following.
Yeah. So it depends on what role you want. If you don't know what role, then you can do anything. If you know what role you do want, then you can make yourself do things that would help. The main thing is really that like you don't get jobs through applications. You kind of get jobs through like just being yourself and talking to people. And the thing with Web3 is it's like no one ever looks at a resume. They look at your GitHub and they look at what you've done first and foremost. So yeah, if you want to get a job or a role or something, you want to like make sure that you put as much effort into your GitHub as you might put into a resume.
A great take. I totally agree with that. I guess to lean on what you mentioned there about really understanding what role you want to go after. In your previous experiences at Hackathon, was it only purely developers that were there?
No, there were like other people. Yeah. So like designers and kind of like product person. And you should collaborate with them too, because they usually like good ideas actually like come from everyone.
Yeah, and you and me both know how hard it is to find a good Web3 designer in this space.
Yeah. If someone can design, god damn it, take them. Just get them.
take them in the team and never let go.
Yeah.
I guess speaking from teams and hackathons, how often do hackathon ideas become full-fledged products in companies? So do any of them, have you seen raise capital?
Yeah.
Have any created? Give examples?
Heaps of them. Yeah. Like, I mean, I must know like at least a lot of them. Like so there's this one startup, Tenderly, and they do like sort of a blockchain developers platform. And I met them when they like literally hadn't even launched, and they used that idea as their hackathon thing. And now they're based in San Fran and have a whole company. And like Instadap was another one. It was like a sort of, like it was a UI over like this DeFi protocol, MakerDAO, and now they're like a fully fledged company as well. So it's like all the time it happens.
Yeah, actually, Tenderly, I did not know that, but they've gone on to raise $40 million.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. And Kev just dropped in the chat that 1inch was created in ETH New York Hackathon.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big token swap exchanges after, or maybe even equal to Uniswap, which everyone's very familiar with. That's great. So that's next question from James is, oh yeah, I see you. So every time we have a Fireside chat, there's always an alpha seeker. Do you want to take a stab at answering this? What would you build if you were at the Glitch Hackathon?
Okay. I have a lot of ideas, but probably what I would build is like, it's like probably like an NFT Pokemon AI thing. So like what you can do with like AI is you can get it to kind of like simulate anything. So you can get to simulate Pokemon with like, you take a turn, and you can get to simulate the characters too. So you can like verse like SBF, for example, and you can be like, oh, like I'm Steve Jobs, I use like liquidate on your stocks or something like that. And so no one has done this, but it'd be really cool if like you somehow make an NFT that's connected to an AI, and so you can talk to the NFT and then it does something and it like talks back, or it does, it adds stats to it or something like that. That'd be cool.
That does sound very cool. I remember when Pokemon Go was on, when it first came out on our mobiles, and everyone was driving around or walking around to different areas.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Trying to get these Pokemon, like, and there'd be gym fights and such, And then you have like Step N. Did you ever use Step N?
No, I haven't used Step N yet.
Oh, it was like this Solana thing, and you got
no. Is that on Solana? I do know Step N. Founded in Brisbane, was it?
I think it was Adelaide.
Sure? Adelaide, yeah. But yeah, that was big. That was a project that basically rewarded you for being active, right? Yeah, move to earn. Move to earn is the right English. Yeah, move to earn.
Yeah.
Does Twitter count as writing, Liam?
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely.
Cool. I mean, we check the chat. They've said move to earn a lot apparently. But yeah, we have 5 minutes left before we wrap up. But in the meantime, Liam, we'll plug some things. You know, are you plugging DAppNet?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, obviously, yeah, DAppNet. It's going to be very cool. Going to be able to deploy stuff to a .eth domain. Can't be taken down. You might be able to mint a website as an NFT in one click from your browser. You might be able to earn tokens from hosting those websites. I don't know. I haven't really spoken to the guy in charge of that. Other things I'll plug. I'll plug Starkware because Starkware is a really cool ecosystem. And if you want to do stuff with like smart people, there's a lot of smart people. There's too much stuff to plug.
I think that's enough to plug.
Okay.
Tell us, just on that plug about the DAppNet, I'm sure the community is very excited for that, especially the builders. What are the timelines like? Is there a chance that DAppNet will be at the Glitch Hackathon and people can use it? Potentially?
Should be. So we just, I'm just making a trailer now, which is going to drop. And then we're going to open source a lot of things and publicly make it available.
That's wonderful. Wonderful news.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can wrap it up here. That was such a good outro.
I hope so. We covered a lot of different topics, and yeah, thank you, Jaden. It was great, actually. I really enjoyed. I hope it was useful for everyone. And yeah, just do what you feel like is good, because that's, you're going to enjoy yourself more and make something really cool and do it with other people.
Mate, still spitting wisdom in the last 1 minute. Liam, thank you again for coming on our Fireside Chat. I'm sure most of us in the audience loved having you here. We covered a really wide range of topics, from memes to Twitter to actually building a Fireside Glitch Hackathon too. And thanks to the whole audience here for joining us. Make sure you submit that Web 2 assignment. I mean, not the Week 2 assignment.
Week 2, we're not Web 2.
Web 2.
Now you're going to get cancelled. This is going on. This is getting.
It's going to take.
Make sure
Andy's take. I'll remix it and I'll censor it.
Yeah. No, I'm down there.
But yeah, cool. Thanks again, Liam. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy the hackathon. You're in good hands.